Well, hello everybody. It's Gary from Lantana Removal Queensland and Attitude Adjuster. I was just wanting to give a little bit of an update on this Lantana situation. Basically, what I've been able to get out of the Brisbane City Council and the Moreton Bay Regional Council, basically councils have given up on doing anything with Lantana. Lantana doesn't even actually exist on their radar anymore. It's still a noxious weed of incredible intensity. In fact, the growth rate on the material is that strong that we have lost millions and millions and millions of hectares. And I'm saying to you guys that I really seriously don't believe any of the actual levels of infestations that are being passed around by governments that it's even anything like it, like they say it is. It's miles more than 5 million hectares, guaranteed. And areas are just complete whiteouts in it, down both sides of the roads, all the way from Petrie, all the way through to Debra, and all the way through to Sanford, all the way up to Mount Glorious, just all over the place. And some of the infestations are just absolutely monstrous. Down all the watercourses, down the Southeast Queensland Water, main roads departments all over the place. And now, without telling anybody about it, they've decided they're not doing anything with it. If they trip over it and stumble over it and fall over it, they might crush it on their way through, but they won't actively target it at all. It doesn't even exist on the radar. Now, what does that mean to Australians and to flora and fauna? It means that in the next few years, the changes with our ecology are absolutely mind-blowing. These people are criminally negligent in their conduct in deciding they're not even going to tackle this pest. They leave it rampant, growing wherever it is on their lands. But in actual fact, if it grows on your property and your neighbour complains about it, or there's a lot of different reasons why they can come onto your property and tell you you need to clean it up. And then if you don't clean it up, they will come in themselves with contractors, clean it up, and then put it on your rates. The only thing holding the councils back at that point is that they're concerned about getting their money back out of those actions. Now, what I'm saying to people is that, quite honestly, you really need to have a look around outside of your properties. If you've got lantana growing on your footpath, in your easements, in different places around your property, and it's invading your property, get in touch with us. Private message me, send me pictures, get in touch. We need to start an action group and a complete change of policy with the state governments, because the state government and federal government pass on all of the powers and all of the responsibilities for these weeds down to the councils. And everybody knows how good the councils are at actually doing any of the physical, actual work of anything. Now, it's being said that they oversee those things and they have contractors that they use for specific jobs. But the reality is there's no accountability, there's no open policy where they tell you exactly what resources they're putting towards these things. They only say that they have access to those people. Now that they've stopped completely targeting lantana in any shape or form, okay, then at that point the lantana growth is that strong that what's going to happen in 10 years time? The state and federal government, the Malcolm Turnbull government, the Palaszczuk government, the New South Wales government are all going to turn around to us, and they're doing it really quite literally now, and say, you know what, it's too expensive now to deal with. If you look at the way the actual information that's being forwarded to people as to being able to manage the thing, and the actual acts through the state government, you can see how the policies have been put in place that it actually really makes it difficult for people cleaning up lantana. And yet nothing can be further from the truth. Lantana is a piece of cake to get rid of. It's only that they have so much of it in their state forests, in the Crown land, in the council lands, all down both sides of the highway, down every watercourse. We have areas that when you fly the drones over now, and this is going to become a bigger thing over the next 12 to, however many years it takes to get these policies changed, there is no thoroughfare of anything through that canopy. And the weeds that it then suppresses or that it protects, not suppresses, but protects, they're going to turn their back on those too. You know, our country is in such dire straits financially, and they keep saying, oh, well, nil growth or next to nil growth isn't such a bad thing. It's an enormously bad thing. But the weed situation, with how rampantly that stuff grows with lantana and stuff like that, we really need to be very careful, because on our lands we are actually criminally in a problem that they can come in and they can make us clean it up, or they can take over the cleaning up of it and hand us the bill. Can you imagine the money on your property when they're handing you as a pensioner, as an elderly person, that's your whole nest egg, and you've got to spend 100 grand on cleaning it up, and you'll get 6 council workers stand there watching the contractor clean it up? You know, it's a disgrace how this works with this situation. And the absolute tip of it is the way that the only place any money is being spent on this particular issue is through Landcare. Landcare's what's the name situation, a not-for-profit. But in that situation, the only place that they do that work is within the places that tourists go. The government's not spending any money on cleaning it up down the roads where they're infesting our properties. You know, I have it above me on my road, infesting our properties, the property above me, us, and the people down the path. The lantana was 40 feet deep in that section from their infestations up on the roads, and they did nothing about it. It's still up there. You know, it's not good enough that councils can find ways around actually acting and controlling lantana when it's on council land, main roads. Main roads, when you contact main roads, turns around and says, oh, well, it's the councils do the work for us. Well, councils aren't doing any work. So who's doing the work? Excuse me? It has to be cleared from the high country, the steep country, and the watercourses. Has to go from those places. It cannot be tolerated in those places. That's where it does the most infestation and, multiplying down those watercourses. All through everybody's properties further downstream. All of our properties. And the law actually affects us. Yet they don't have to do anything with theirs. Unless somebody's complaining hard enough and strong enough, nothing gets done. Well, we need to step up and do something about it, because the amount of animals, the amount of flora and fauna that's being destroyed every single day, and they change these rules. And they're constantly saying, well, actually, it's too big a problem for us to do anything. Because nobody within those departments can actually stick their hand up and go, you know what, in 10 years' time, the whole ecology of Australia is going to be changed irreversibly because of what the governments did now. What the Palaszczuk government, what the Malcolm Turnbull government, actually not what they did, what they didn't do. We need action, we need it right now, and we need very serious, strong commitments to the future. Greenies and people who care about our country and our environment, that fought for protection of our wildlife and our flora, need to understand what they're doing to us with these weeds, because it's a very serious criminal act that they've hidden behind these things. It's not out there in front of you. You go and ask the questions yourself. I'm not asking people to trust me and to listen to what I'm telling them as those things. Go and find out those facts for yourself, because they will blow your mind as to what the councils are not doing. And they were put in the place. They can't even do the work they're supposed to do. They cannot handle a pest that's completely out of control. And that's what the state government says. Lantana is bolted. It's done. It's finished. We can never reel it back in now, so we won't even try. That's a different thing as saying we must meet the growth rate of the plant, right? We must meet the growth rate as a number one priority. We can do it. We've been doing it for 30 years. We do it all the time. No problems at all. And Lantana's easy to beat. Just they don't want to put any resources, because the whole rest of the country is that cash strapped, and they don't want anybody paying attention to how bad the NBN is, how we live in a third world country with the internet and phone services, how our fuel prices are through the roof, how our electricity is insane. We've got the dearest electricity in the world because it's a tax. And we need to get action taken on multiple fronts to start reeling in this consumerism, right, as our number one way of raising revenue and tax. We need to get away from that system of that mentality when the ACCC and the Office of Fair Trading don't protect consumers. We need a complete reorganisation of the way the system's working, because it's really creating such a terrible situation for the ecology. And it all links back that we've got to start reeling this in. We can't keep repeating these processes and these situations that are ongoing non-stop. You know, we're going to be supplying an enormous amount of footage over the next years, okay, if it takes that long, to actually physically show these infestations in where they are. And we encourage people to join us and also to share the footage they have of places outside of their homes. You know, you drive through Sanford, just a beautiful place, enormously beautiful. And have a look at the Lantana from Dayborough to Sanford. How the Sanfordites ever put up with that absolutely disgraceful, disgusting council situation. Down every watercourse, down every side of the road for the 100-foot wide that the sides of the road are. And the properties are just fighting an endless war to try and protect their boundaries. And nobody says anything. Nobody turns around and goes, well, can't be told. Now they're doing nothing. So what does the future hold on a plant that grows as quick as Lantana does? Come on, Sanfordites, tell me about that. You live with it along those boundaries. Tell me how bad and how quickly it grows. Now that they're doing nothing, what will the future be? If they slash it, they spread it. So let's have a look at what you're going to say about this. I encourage more and more people to ask the questions, to look at what's actually happening and start to demand change, because our kids' future and the flora and the conservation absolutely need to be addressed very quickly. This is a fight we cannot afford to lose, because this goes all the way to the tip of the country. Okay, you talk to farmers from here to the tip of the country and you see how this beast is out of control. And then you look at the actual area that they say that Lantana can and will inhabit, and it hasn't even gotten rolling yet. It has not even gotten rolling yet. And they've completely given up on it and thrown their hands up and said, that's enough, we're not bothering with it at all. You know, it's a disgrace. It's an absolute disgrace. And it should be something that we are really voting on. The deceit of changing those policies without ever consulting the public. Do we want to give up on it? Do we want to give up on the ecology? If you pay enough money, you can get a permit to clear whatever land you want. That's a fact. It doesn't matter how they rewrite this stuff. You can get a permit to clear whatever you want. But we have vast, huge, enormous areas of land that the animals cannot even get to the trees to actually eat. And those trees are being killed by the Lantana climbing them. And they want to penalise us and harass us when it's completely out of control. And it's their policies. So we need to become aware. We need to become focused. And we need to share the information. And we need to start asking the questions of all of the groups. You know, by all means, please provide that information to me if you've got concerns, if you've got areas outside of your property that are infesting it, from the water board, from main roads, from councils. Get in touch with us, please. Okay, well, I'm Gary. I'm Lantana Removal Queensland. Thank you very much for popping in, and we will be sharing some drone footage very shortly. So keep watching this space.